I'm Wesley Lowry, a journalist with CBS News and GQ Magazine and a little bit everywhere, here to talk about Judas and the Black Messiah and the I'm a Revolutionary scene. Shaka, I wanted to start with you. Can you talk to me a little bit about how that scene comes together, how you're thinking about it?
You have this man going up the steps, feeling sort of like a gladiator entering the ring, hearing the crowd chanting his name. In that moment, felt almost like an arena. You know, when he steps into that massive crowd of folks, it's almost like they let the panther out the cage.
I'm free. I'm free, y'all. I need everybody to repeat after me. I am a revolutionary. I am a revolutionary. I am a revolutionary. I am a revolutionary.
In this scene, we have Fred Hampton giving this remarkable speech.
This is what we call the people beat. Started in 1966 by Huey Newton and Bobby Seale. It's the beat that manifests in you, the people.
And we also see all of the other main characters silently reacting and responding.
They can't never stop the party unless they stop the people.
How do you convey so much story and emotion through a scene in which the vast majority of your characters have no lines?
Well, I always knew that it was kind of the junction for every major character's storyline. And so it's just figuring out the best way to photograph that so that the intention that they are feeling in the moment shines through.
Way too high! Way too high! I'm high off the people!
When you see Daniel going for it like that, you're like, I don't want to cut away from this, right? But I have to, because these story beats are integral to the entire story that we're telling. And then you see that the beats, and they kill in the beats, and you're like, it's a good problem to have.
I'm high! I'm high! High! Of the people!
You know, everyone had an emotional attachment and a political attachment to this material. And so everyone's like bringing their best.
Imagine what we could accomplish together. We can heal this whole city.
This is going to be one of the emotional high points, the emotional high point of this film. Daniel, how are you prepping to walk out onto camera and do this?
When I do scenes, I think of who I want to speak to, who I want to feel moved by. This is who it means everything to. And I hold that in my prep.
So if you asked to make a commitment at age 20, you said I'm too young to die, then y'all dead already.
I remember listening to him and being moved.
He was just embodying this character. And we would just have chills at times, just how compelling it was.
It was just hard to be hearing those words delivered in the way that Daniel delivered them and not feel something.
I remember feeling grateful that it wasn't my coverage the first time I was hearing it, because I don't know if that would have been accurate for Mitchell.
Daniel, what do you think Chairman Hampton is thinking as he says some of these words? He has been imprisoned, he's seen comrades killed, and he's confronting the idea of his own individual mortality.
It's just like clear, really clear.
Put a fist in the air for Comrade Jimmy Palmer. Jimmy Palmer died a revolutionary deed. He died protecting the people. And as far as I'm concerned, that's the only way to die.
I think if there's ever a moment in the movie where he doubts that his mission will succeed, it's while he's, incarcerated. And he comes out to see that his mission has been a success.
He was like, wow, this confirms what I feel. This is bigger than just me. There's power anywhere there's people.
the people have come together and thriving and doing better than ever. And so that's what's going on with Chairman Fred Hampton. Simultaneously, William O'Neill, he's the entire time been completely apolitical.
He's been existing within the movement with the Panthers.
Say, Chairman, that wasn't no goddamn pig you was eating out there, was it?
Somebody got to show the pig who's boss, man.
He's also been running his side gig with the feds.
When one group presents a conflict to him, he runs to the other side.
Does anybody else know about me?
No, my superiors know I have a man on the inside, but that's it. No one knows your identity.
And suddenly, they all collide in the same room. How does that come across in this scene?
He's in a vulnerable space. And so he, like the rest of the people in that crowd, they hear Chairman Fred Hampton's words and they're starting to resonate a little bit.
I think mainly for O'Neill, it manifests his frustration with his own internal conflict and not, being confused about these new emotions that he might be feeling.
And you see in that shot, you see that moment of him for a brief second becoming a true believer. And then he spots Roy Mitchell in the audience, looking at him and in some ways taunting him.
I'm really finding Mitchell in the crowd. It's not fake. So when you see it happening, that's really me. Oh, shit, that motherfucker's in here. You know what I mean? So then it brings me back to the reality of the mission and the characters.
Jesse is a masterful reactor. And in that scene, you see his ability, his skill at doing that is phenomenal, because he's fucking with O'Neill. When he did that eyebrow raise, The
look on his face is so apathetic. I mean, just like even in his eyes, it's just like, he's like, I don't give a fuck with y'all on. Like the focus is completely elsewhere, which I think is great.
And as for them bloodthirsty, murderous pigs, well, some of you might be in the audience right now, huh? Gun in your head.
Jesse, what do you think was going through Roy's head in that moment?
I feel like for Roy, the power that Fred possessed and his ability to move a group of people like that.
America's on fire right now.
But we here to change that.
It's about the scariest thing he could have seen.
Our counterintelligence program must prevent the rise of a black messiah.
He seemed to have a fearlessness about him.
We are forming a rainbow coalition of oppressed brothers and sisters of every color.
Even knowing what the likely consequences would be for the truth that he was speaking.
Think of your family now, Agent Mitchell. Our entire way of life is at stake if we lose this war. You follow me?
I do, sir.
The FBI was guilty of what it accuses its enemies of, and I think that's really important to make that known.
An informant killed another Panther.
Sam's is one of our guys.
And we're just letting him walk for murder?
They spied on millions of people and used all of their resources to neutralize folks and to take down a movement.
So anytime he goes into a Panther office, we get a warrant for harboring a fugitive. It's beautiful.
That's what I love about a certain part of this depiction, when it shows how ridiculous and futile it looks for people in perceived positions of power to try and come down on people that question that power.
Dominique, can you talk to me about the conflict that Deborah's feeling in this moment?
I feel like she's like soaking him in with her eyes. Like, is this the last time I'm seeing him? And then she's feeling like, how is that fair?
You get to go out there, talk about dying a revolutionary death and how your body belonged to the revolution because you don't have another person growing inside your body.
Dominique raises just a glimmer of a doubt of, is this a good idea? Is this safe? Am I being a good mother? And so you see her questioning and really fearful about her future.
So you regret it?
What?
Have my baby.
Do you?
When I dedicated my life to the people, I dedicated my life.
I think in him realizing it and him kind of accepting it before it's an unspoken truth means that I have to face it as well and come to terms with it.
I don't believe I'm gonna die in no car, Red. I don't believe I'm gonna die slipping on no ice. I don't believe I'm gonna die because I got a bad heart. I believe I'm gonna die doing what I was born for.
And so in that moment, she has to relinquish her dreams that she had for him and say, he is a dream bigger than all of us.
I believe I'm gonna die half the people. I'm gonna die for the people because I live for the people. I live for the people because I love the people.
One of the things that I know for a fact made that scene work was the location we shot in. That space, when I saw it, I was like, we have to get this location.
That was a real church with 350 plus people in the church, standing room, like a true old Baptist, church that I can remember going to when I was a kid.
That color, the vibrancy of the church, it helps to create that sense of period that we were looking for.
The scene was very alive, and the crowd helped make everything alive as well and make it, feel like we were really in that space and place.
The feeling in that room was something that I will never forget.
No. It was crazy. They were just lifting me up. Like in the breaks, women just like, I got your back. I got your back. I got your back, man. I got your back. It's just like, it was just support and love.
When we started that scene, I ran up to Shaka and I said, is it all right if we have the crowd just totally react with Daniel and just go back and forth? Like, is it okay to let all this just happen in real time?
And I was really glad that you Marlo, you had that thought, man, because the movie is it's not just a different scene without that decision. It's a different movie without that decision. And the crowd feeds him. They give him energy. That's why you see Daniel just put on one of the best performances I've ever seen in that moment.
It's not a question of violence or non-violence. It's a question of resistance to fascism or non-existence within fascism.
Why do you think, or do you think, those words resonate in this moment? They feel powerful now, not in a historical context, but in a today context.
A lot of the things that he was advocating for are things that are still very relevant, over half a century after his assassination.
War is politics with bloodshed, and politics is war without bloodshed.
He was someone who was an incredible thinker, teacher, who was ahead of his time in many ways.
It's all right there in the Declaration of Independence. Life, liberty, happiness.
I also think his ability to communicate with so many different kinds of people was not seen before.
What Fred was preaching, he says it in a really beautiful, grabbing way.
Well, let me make it plain.
How many years later, and we're still talking about these words.
You can murder a liberator, but you can't murder liberation.
This is the soundtrack of what's really happening out there.
You can murder revolutionary, but you can't murder revolution.
Nothing is dressed up. It's naked. He's capturing the essence of what he means and what he believes.
And you can murder a freedom fighter, but you can't murder freedom.
I think that's why he and his comrades were willing to die, because they were convinced that they were going to win and that their death wouldn't be in vain. When you talk about the real people, they'd made peace that their death, from the moment that they signed up, is that phrase that a revolutionary's life ends with prison, exile, or death. And so we're making a movie about icons who we're trying to humanize so that we really bring their sacrifice to the surface.
They can kill Fred Hampton. No! But they can't kill his message.
His influence is so deep and pervasive, and it's just so strange to me that he doesn't get the same level of reverence as, say, a King or a Malcolm X.
It really is the truth.
For all those things to be happening at one time and all of them to work so well was just a magical moment. It's one of my favorite scenes to have written. It's easily my favorite thing I've ever directed, ever.
Hey!
There you go.